Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and to my right is always ready Gary S. Hopper.
Ready for what?
I don't know. Isn't that what they called you when you were a professional wrestler? Weren't you always ready, Gary S. Hopper?
No. I was rambling, Gary.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Rambling, gorgeous Gary.
Rambling, gorgeous.
Yeah,
I can't even say it. Rambling,
Yeah.
gorgeous Gary.
Rambling, gorgeous Gary. Yeah, I know. It was RGG. That's what they called me.
That's
when I
right.
was into professional wrestling.
Yes.
But somebody just said something. Is that Norm over there causing trouble? Somebody go slap that guy, will you?
When he was a professional wrestler, he was trouble causer Norm.
Trouble.
Right. They call me the wannabe wrestler.
Yes, yes.
Terrible trouble, Norm.
So, were you surprised the way the turnout of the elections came out? I actually told Bill Darius.
No.
No, I wasn't either. What happened to your buddy there? You're going to be on his show next time?
Who?
What's his name? John Slipflop?
Oh, John Hopwood?
Yeah, Slipflop. He and I don't like each other.
Oh,
Make no bones about it.
I didn't know that.
Like those. What'd you get? I like those.
Those are my, for those who can't see, Norm is over here asking us.
You're not even on the air.
Yeah, we are.
That's all right, Norm. That's okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sorry.
It's live TV. It's supposed to be spontaneous.
No, Norm, those are prescription glasses I use for my motorcycle. That was awesome.
Well, what's funny is,
I could tell he didn't know, but I wasn't going to say anything.
John Hopwood just texted me saying he wants to be on Norm's show.
All right, State House stuff. We the legislature is required by law to get together and try to overturn governor vetoes.
Yes.
Okay, which tends to be a fool's errand, pretty much.
Does it ever happen?
Oh yeah, very rarely though. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. I remember a few years ago we had one, but that was about it. But anyway, so the constitutional carry was vetoed.
Yeah.
But that went to the Senate, and the Senate couldn't, because if the governor vetoes, you need 2/3 vote of the House to override it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see, what else did she kill? She killed it, and we couldn't override it. Was relative to school district policy regarding regarding objectionable material in the classroom.
Yeah.
There was a bill to require the schools, if they're doing, sexually explicit or sex ed type stuff, they have to basically let the parents know what's going to go on and what it's about and give them notice so they can pull their kid.
Sure. If they
And
opt out.
the particular case was a 13-year-old girl who was in a male-female class, and she's only 13 years old, and they're sitting there talking about different sexual preferences, and they're not. It's not like birds and the bees type stuff like some people choose. It's like they're getting descriptive about what goes on in those. So that would have been good to overturn it, but the Democrats voted as a bloc and killed them all. What else was there relative to duration of child support? I think we talked about this. Right now, the way the law is, until your child graduates high school, the person that doesn't have custody is on the hook for support.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that before, and I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, most people are. Most people figure once they're 18, that's it. But
Yeah.
no, that's not the law. And so what that does is lead to very probable abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, if your kid is going to be covered no matter what, so you probably almost encourage them not to complete high school. So that bill got killed, though. We didn't have the votes. They were all roughly 200 and something to 160.
Yeah.
220 to like 160 or something. It was not enough to override. Relative to admissions to... Oh, that was a tax break or something. That didn't go through. Nothing biggie.
I think our guest has arrived.
Our guest has arrived.
I think so. It's not Norm this time.
It's not Norman.
Hi, guys.
Hello,
Hi, honey.
welcome.
Now, should we just walk right on the set?
You just want to go around that camera.
Okay. We were locked outside.
You were locked
Door,
up.
Yeah.
It
Oh.
sticks.
It sticky.
They're sticky.
Yeah.
Oh, you were waiting outside, weren't you?
was.
I says, I wonder if
Yes.
that's our guest.
That is our guest.
Yes.
That's
Maureen
Melissa.
Maureen.
Maureen.
Beauregard
Close.
from Families in Transition.
Oh,
And Chris
okay.
Blevins from
I
Chris
know,
Blevins.
I know you, and our producer. See, now we have to have a producer. That's Steve over there, and he says, who do you should guest tonight? I says, well, it's Chrissy from Chrissy's Cosmetics.
Chrissy's Cosmetics.
Right.
That's cuter than Chris Cosmetics.
Oh, it is.
Chrissy's Cosmetics.
Okay,
I might
that's
have
not
to
correct.
change it.
That makes me think of Three's Company.
I might have to change it. It's precious.
But anyway, he says, so I gave up hunting tonight for that.
Whoa.
I know,
that's
right?
funny.
Yeah, you know,
We're not even talking about makeup.
I know that, but he didn't know that, so I thought I'd.
Are we talking about hunting?
What?
You can't hunt at night.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
Half hour after sunset.
And you also have to get caught if you're doing it wrong anyway. There's
Same.
that. Okay, so I just, sorry ladies, I just got to finish with the political end of this. So constitutional carry was killed, did not get the necessary 2/3 to override the governor's veto. And the one that was really dumb today is we had Senate Bill 9. Senate Bill 9 was basically, in effect, an amendment to the budget so that the governor would agree to the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And it has raises for the state workers. It was only like a 2% raise, but the compromise was it decreased the business profits tax for the businesses. So we brought her taxes down and paid. Yeah, I know. And so there's some really, really good stuff with it. And what happened was the Bill O'Brien coalition tried to scuttle it by saying that because it's a money bill, it should have started in the House. So technically, possibly he was correct, but in a pragmatic sort of way, there's no way he's even close.
Okay, but when you say he might be correct, you mean constitutionally, or
Kind
just in
of.
terms of tradition, or
I don't know. I mean, it's sketchy because it's not. You're not really the bill itself did not institute any more taxes. It only decreased taxes.
okay?
But in effect, it was an amendment to the budget bill, and we have amendments to the budget bill by the Senate all the time.
Right.
That's
okay.
that's constant. The House bill does not get back to the House without some sort of amendments from the Senate.
Okay.
And that's what SB 9 in effect was. So technically maybe they were right, but practically there's no way that was even close.
Yeah.
But what they did to try to delay things is once they lost their move to not even accept SB 9 to begin with, because we needed a 2/3 majority to suspend the rules to allow it to come in,
Yeah.
they tried stalling tactics by adding amendments to it. And any amendment added to it would mean the governor is no longer bound to sign it.
Okay.
And so they added stuff like constitutional carry, tried to,
Yeah.
and those were defeated like, almost 300 to 90 or something like that. But I think they did that to get people that they were aggravated with on record as voting against constitutional carry. Even though if you're on the inside, you realize that's not what that vote's about.
Right. Right.
So there's a break room downstairs in the LOB in the State House with air conditioning. So I took a nap there instead.
Don't blame you.
What else happened? What else? Yeah, one of our legislators. I was kind of offended. One of our legislators actually was smoking pot in the ante room with one of those fake cigarettes. It's just so.
I won't say it, but I bet I could even guess who it was.
I bet you're right. Anyway, Chrissy, I love you.
I love you too.
Oh my goodness.
We just got a selfie with you guys in it.
yeah,
You did?
I noticed that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's good.
What? He's yelling at me. Is he yelling at me? Did I do something again?
Oh, your microphone is yeah. Turn it the other way so the green is facing you. There you go.
It does say, of course, I don't follow directions always, but
no.
please do not touch or tap the microphone.
I, on the other hand, didn't touch it.
Oh, you followed the directions.
Sometimes when people are looking.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
Okay, so anyway, I did something today that you don't even know about.
Okay,
and
tell
you
me.
know everything.
I don't know
she
everything,
really
but I'm
does.
about to.
I know she does. Okay, this is the last the last piece of the puzzle you don't
Okay.
know about.
Okay.
I was at, our friend Dave Fine.
Yes.
I was hanging out with the Dave Meister at a convention for treatment convention or
Recovery.
trade show.
Yep.
And I aggravated the heck out of a couple people. It was fun, but it
Then
was
you were successful.
yes, I was successful. But you'll love this, right? I went over to this one treatment place, and I asked them because I had heard that they were pretty good, and I was talking to them, and I says, "Look, as a legislator, I can't go to Matt, take $1,000 out of his pocket for treatment for somebody if A, I don't know there's a reasonable chance of success, and B, that it's not ridiculously overpriced." I says, because a lot of these people that have treatment centers, they have, they take your kid out and hikes in the woods, and there's swimming and saunas and horseback riding. And I says, look, if I'm going to take $1,000 out of Matt's pocket to treat somebody else's child, that child shouldn't go to a place that is so nice Matt can't even afford to send his kid on a vacation like that. So anyway, so I was tweaking about how elaborate some of these facilities are. And that guy was totally okay with it because he's got a reasonable facility. But the lady next to it just gets wicked mad. She was so mad.
Really?
And what was she mad at? What was her opinion about what you were saying?
Well, I figured it out later because I got her brochure. First, she says, well, basically it was an outdoor treatment center.
like a wilderness
A
therapy
wilderness
program.
therapy. And then she had Dave looked over the statistics. They said 94% success rate or something, which we both know in the business that is
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
that's total BS. Well, if you look at the statistics, they arrive at the statistics by interviewing the addicts a year after and calling them and saying, "Are you using or
Are you
not
still
using?
alive?
Are you still alive? Are
Right.
you using or not using?" Well, if they're using, they're going to lie anyway.
Oh yeah, of course.
Possibly. Or they're going to be honest because they've
They
recovered.
could, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Some
it's-
of them will lie.
Some of them will
certainly.
become honest if they're working a program of recovery.
Correct, but
Right.
but still, you and I both know that some of the least honest people on the planet are people that are using, and asking them if they are not using is no basis for statistics to support the outcomes of your program.
Right, but I think what it is, talking about that honesty and all that, is that deep down inside is an honest person, but the disease covers up
it
that
owns
honest
it.
person.
Yeah.
And I think, part of what I've been talking about is breaking down those barriers of judgment about addicts, because deep down inside, if they're addicted, they do need help, and they're a soul that
Yeah.
deserves a better life. And a lot of them don't realize how sick they were until they get well, or they don't have an opportunity to realize that because they don't survive it, and our death rates. I was at the conference with, or the hearing with Senator Ayotte and Senator
Yeah,
Shaheen
how'd
on
that-
Monday, and that was a really powerful, moving, very informative hearing with the federal government came in, and it was pretty impressive
drug
to
czar.
see that DC came to New Hampshire to listen to our problems with it. And it was fascinating, to listen to the story of Doug Griffin, whose daughter, passed away, Courtney a year ago. Of course, my stepdaughter passed away from a heroin overdose as well. And, just all breaking those barriers of judgment is really what it's all about. We have to understand that inside each and every person, is a beautiful soul that's sick. And some of them don't get the opportunity to get clean if we don't take chances. So that's a really good subject. And, I'm here with Maureen Beauregard from Families in Transition. Families in Transition, a lot of people don't understand, has a very successful intensive outpatient program for drug and alcohol abuse. And that in place is part of, helping homeless people. And in homelessness, we find quite a bit of addiction, right, Maureen?
We do.
Maybe you want to speak on that, of what you see in the homeless population and how that relates to the issue with heroin and addiction in our community.
So we
Could
have-
I before you get
Sure.
to go on your spiel, how did you get involved in this?
I started it almost 24 years ago. I had worked for the state of New Hampshire doing child protection,
Yeah.
and that is probably one of the most difficult jobs out there. And my hat's off to anybody who works in that industry, that field. It's very, very difficult.
Right.
And then before that, I was a substance abuse counselor, and I kind of stumbled on the opportunity to create a transitional housing program for homeless women and children. I didn't know what transitional housing was, but I studied up on it. So I did that with 5 women and their children, and that was in 1991. And it's almost 24 years later, and today we provide housing and services to over 200 folks every night. We are in Manchester, Concord, and Dover. And we have an array of housing choices for folks. We have the only family shelter in Manchester, and we're in the middle of constructing a new one. It's not just a shelter, but it's also a resource center on the lower level where other nonprofits are going to come live with us.
24/7 help.
Yeah.
So somebody who's have a problem with addiction, they can get help there, or if somebody's having a problem getting a job or GED.
Primarily, this is a place where homeless families can come. It's really hard to be homeless, and I think people are surprised when they hear that there's a mom living in a car with their child, or there's a dad living in a van with their wife and kids. People are surprised at that because in New Hampshire, it just doesn't happen, or it shouldn't happen.
And don't you think like homelessness is like merely a symptom of usually an underlying cause or condition that has caused that to be the end result? And in a sense, homelessness for many people is like a bottom from a series of other problems, of which we know that drugs and alcohol is a huge component.
Yeah, addiction is a part of it. It's not the only thing, but it can be a part of it. And one of the first things that I knew starting off was that violence and trauma is very prevalent in the homeless arena. 9 out of 10 homeless women is a victim of violence. 9 out of 10. That's us. That's just not okay. And it's probably the same for men. And someday we're going to measure that, and we'll get an honest result from guys. I think it's harder for men to report. So if 9 out of 10 women are victims of violence, oftentimes people try to self-medicate. And they can try to self-medicate through a substance. And then, so people come into the homeless arena with that substance abuse, with the trauma, and we knew early on that we needed to do something about it. And we created the intensive outpatient program, and it focuses specifically on substance abuse and trauma at the same time. Oftentimes, if you have post-traumatic stress disorder or depression or other things, and you have a substance abuse issue, you have to go to 2 different places. We combine those 2 under one roof.
And reality hurts for so many people, which is why they self-medicate.
Yeah. And so substance abuse is prevalent. It's not 100%, but the percentages are high, and they've been higher because of the heroin epidemic. We're hit by it just as much as anybody else.
I was having this argument at the State House today because I agree that if you look at, and this is one of the things that all the different speeches or presentations I went to this past weekend, that much of addiction is instigated by trauma.
Without a doubt.
Right.
There's no doubt in my mind. Nobody wakes up one day and says, you know what, I think I'm going to drink my brains out, or I'm going to stick a needle in my arm. People don't, I don't believe that, I believe that every parent wants to do well by their kids. Sure. There are some that are on the fringe that never should have kids, but most folks don't wake up and say, you know what, I'm just going to lose my kids, I'm going to lose my house, and I'm going to go live on the street. It's a gradual process.
Right.
And it's like, next thing you know, it's like, bam, how did I land here?
Yeah, how did I end up here?
Whether it's domestic violence, substance abuse, mental health, underemployment, undereducated, all of those things lead to our folks to our door. And it's a gradual process where all of a sudden it feels like, snap, here I am. And it's like, whoa, how did this happen? It's 20 miles in, it's 20 miles out. You're talking about, recovery from addiction. It's 20 miles in, it's 20 miles out. And it can take 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And I'm of the belief that nothing is ever wasted when we work with folks and we try and help them to get well.
And
nothing is wasted.
Not every treatment protocol for addiction works for every person the same way.
Sure, yeah.
Because you meet different people in different places with their process. Just a little story. I've been doing a load of advocacy lately, and consequently my Facebook inbox and email is getting inundated on a daily basis now with folks saying, hey, my son's having a problem, my niece is having a problem, what do I do? And this is a fresh story from last week. I got a call from a woman. crying in the emergency room because her son was OD'd on heroin and was dead and was brought back by Narcan. And he was laying in a hospital bed with 2 police officers there, and she called and she just said, Chris, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Can you help? And I'm on the board of directors at Farnham Center, so, you know, it doesn't mean I can get you a bed. There's so many components that come in between, you know, insurance and all this other stuff, but I said I can certainly try, but hold on a second. And I think this is the biggest component about what we started talking about. Do you give that $1,000 of his money to this kid? I said to her, I said, you need to do something very important. This boy's 27 years old. You need to ask him right now, is he ready to go to any length to get clean and sober? Is he completely ready in his spirit to do it? Because if the addict is not open and that window of opportunity is not open, anything we do is fruitless because they're going to use again. And she asked, and I could hear his answer. And his answer was, no, I'm just going to go back to my apartment and chill. And that means I'm not ready.
Right.
And I said to her, I said, I might sound heartless right now, but you need to detach and you need to go and you need to take care of yourself. And let's keep him in the prayers. And 2 nights ago, he hit another bottom, picked up the phone, she called me, and that boy is now in medical detox at Farnham Center getting treatment. But he's going to come out and he's got nowhere to live or anything. So this is the other thing.
Hey, before you go off on other things, that was actually what I was trying to get at was, at the conference, I heard a really cool idea, and it specifically speaks to what you were just talking about. Right now, a child gets treated with Narcan. They're supposed to go to the hospital. It's not a cure. It's a temporary fix, and they can get stabilized in the hospital. Is that correct?
It's life support medication.
Right,
Yeah.
it's life support medication.
Yeah.
What I want, if I just introduced the bill today, and I got to still work on the details because I'm trying to copy a bill that supposedly went through in New Jersey, but I got to get the language for it, is that any person that is treated like that has to spend at least 20 minutes or half an hour with a recovery coach. So when they're in there, they're already captive audience, basically. We have, I think there's over 100 recovery coaches already trained in New Hampshire. And so they would come in. Recovery coaches, for people that don't know, are basically people who were in Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, have been sober a while, and then they go through this 40-hour training program, and they're doing it to try to help people. It's
Well, and I think that that's a really important component, is that peer stuff, because like, for instance, if this boy laying in the hospital bed that just died and was brought back by Narcan had somebody who knows the disease well enough to be able to look at him and go, you want to go back to your apartment and chill? Really?
Yeah.
You just died. You know, I mean, a mom can't do that.
No.
She was so emotionally involved. And this is the other big thing, is
Do you-
that the
what, do you like-
families
do you like
are
the idea?
suffering. I do like the idea, because maybe face to face, somebody could actually look through the disease and get to that soul within that would like the gift of life. And going back to the apartment to chill, kind of what that means is I
not ready yet.
need to go use again.
Yeah.
And I'm not done yet. And I know my stepdaughter, Amber, you know, that's where she was in the end. And Mark and I, my husband, looked at her and said, you know, Amber, you're going to die. And 3 weeks later, she died of a heroin overdose.
God.
You know, and this is the reality of it,
Yeah.
you know, that this is fatal. And heroin is a drug that when you take it once, you're on your way.
Well, that's why I always say, I mean, it's a pretty tough thing when you do that for the first time. There really only are 2 probable outcomes. Either you're going to die, or if you're lucky, the worst thing that happens to you is you completely ruin your life.
Right.
And have to put it back together. So.
But I think the most important thing that's going on in our community right now there are a lot of organizations like Families in Transition, other organizations that are really trying to raise the vibration of our city and say, yeah, we've got problems. People are going to continue to die and all that, you know, prevention and all that. But we need to support the people that knock on the door at our new family shelter and say, I need help. And that is the biggest thing. When a person has had enough and they're ready, there are services now that are going to put them onto a completely new path in life.
if
you
they're
know,
willing.
If they
Yeah.
ask for help. So really, it's within the individual. But a lot of people that have been sending me messages are the big question is, where do I go? What?
Right.
So no one knows what to do. And I think so the educational piece is really important, which is why we're so delighted to be here today to say to you, we have a family shelter and resource center opening on Lake Ave. It is in one of the darkest neighborhoods of our city, and it is going to be a beacon of light and hope for people to come and get answers. And if our resources and our family shelter can't help that person in that building, we are going to be connecting with other resources to make sure that they get put on the right path to get the help that they need. And Maureen has, got quite a vision for the lower level in the resource center, which I think is an important thing to talk about. Because where do you go when you need help?
Right. So what we've done is, we took over the city shelter a few years ago, and the board and staff made a commitment to do something better because kids deserved better. And I'm really happy that we're going to be able to serve kids in a place that's really safe for them, and it's built with safety in mind. So on the upper level of this building is going to be the shelter, and it'll have 24/7 coverage. On the lower level, I had this epiphany. The recession really kicked nonprofits in the pants, and it'll never be the same. And we can't go back to what it was because it just will never be the same. So what we're doing is we're leveraging the resources of other nonprofits. So we have Head Start, Southern New Hampshire Services in there, and they're providing Head Start to some of our kids. We provide a therapist in that classroom, and it's a therapeutic childcare program designed specifically for kids. We have New Horizons coming in, and they're going to be doing the cooking for the shelter. They're paying for the cook to come in and cook for our folks because it's what they do, and they're really good at it. We have Goodwill coming in, and their thing is employment, and they can do it in a way that we'd have to learn, we'd have to figure it out, and we'd have to roll it out, and we'd have to raise the money for it. So Goodwill is coming in. And then our intensive
How big is this place? It sounds like
it's
a
about,
huge amount of...
It's not huge. You don't need to be huge. It's 5,000 square feet on the top and 5,000 square feet on the bottom. The mobile community health team is coming in there, so you can get primary health care for the homeless in
And
there.
a lot of love.
And there's it's a lot of relationships. People are lost. Homelessness is, you can call it a lot of things, but what it's really about is isolation and loneliness. And whether you're at the bottom of the road with addiction, or at the bottom of your road because of trauma from your family of origin, it's a lonely place. So our job is to really connect you with others and other organizations. So we invited these other organizations to come live with us. And I really feel like we're on the precipice of something really big, and I think more of it is going to happen in Manchester.
And I think what the word is of why this is so powerful right now is the word unity. What I'm noticing in my advocacy work with the heroin issue is that when you go out there, there's a lot of people doing great things, but they're not connecting.
Okay.
And this is a problem because if we all connect, we're powerful. If we segregate, we lose our power. And what Families in Transition is doing at the new family shelter is really creating a spirit of unity in our community so that all resources are working in conjunction with each other so that people can get the help that they need.
We also invited Hope for New Hampshire Recovery. They're in one of our spaces on Market Street. And my feeling is if they're in our building, it's really easy for us to say, why don't you just go right downstairs? Hope for New Hampshire Recovery is right there. We know they're there because...
And they have full throttle addiction and
do.
recovery service information.
They do.
Programs.
They are really, they're like
Suggestions.
this. They're right on
Right.
everything, and the compassion that Hope has is pretty amazing.
The need to kind of unify everybody and connect everybody, is that part of the lack of that thus far? Is that part of what contributes to the problem in terms of I just heard recently New Hampshire we're like last in the nation
We're
on some
worse.
sort of list in terms of resources available or accessible to
And
people.
in terms of the intensity of the problem, especially with heroin and fentanyl.
Okay.
And when I was at the hearing with the senators and the federal government was there on Monday, it was very interesting to hear the federal guy from the DEA explain that they know where the drugs are coming from. They're funneling it over the border from Mexico. And they had this map, and it was just it was crazy. But the energy of the movement of the drugs was coming up from Mexico, flying over to the East Coast, and then segregating from New York up to Maine.
Okay.
And we
Yeah.
are in the epicenter of where the drugs are being brought to.
Okay.
So the
Wow.
surplus. And why is it like that? He said because we're spending the money on it. The income potential for the dealers is here.
Okay.
And they got so many people addicted now that the need is on the increase. The demand is increasing, so the supply is coming up, and that's where the death toll is going up as well.
Okay.
And they shared an interesting stat: 127 people a day in our country are dying from heroin overdose right now. You know, we've already had 52 deaths in New Hampshire this year. That doesn't count all the overdoses that
Yeah.
were brought back by Narcan. So
Yeah.
Narcan's working, but you know, what's happening after that? You
Right.
get back to life, and you're going to go back to your apartment and chill. You know, is that really helping?
You were talking about the helping organizations, the nonprofit sector, and I think that I think there's a misnomer out there that people think that the nonprofit sector is duplicating services and that we don't play well in the sandbox, and that all of these organizations are serving the one same person. And the reality is that I think that the nonprofit sector is pretty scrappy, and I think that we've done a pretty good job, and we do need to do more things like move in together and really make sure that we're buttoning up
Hold
our
events
services
together.
But we're not there when it comes to addiction and when it comes to homelessness. There really isn't enough. There isn't enough affordable housing. You have to make $20 an hour to afford a place to live. How many jobs here are you able to do that?
Yeah.
And then with addiction services, there just isn't enough. The tide has hit. It's crashed. And now we're trying to build the infrastructure to handle it.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah, and I think that's the segregation. I think everyone's kind of waking up going, oh, we had a problem? We've got a big problem? What do you mean this problem's really big? So everyone's
Yeah.
trying to get ideas, and everyone's trying to do their thing. And I don't know who should be the great unifier, in our state that oversees and makes sure that all services are getting connected, that everyone knows about everybody else, so that if there's overflow or if there's something you specialize in, you do it. But if you're not specializing it, you don't try and do it. Or you
Yeah.
don't try and hoard it.
Reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
I think that I think that we're going to see a movement going forward that more nonprofits are going to be doing what we're doing, and I'm hopeful in that arena. There's a group of us working through the chamber, looking at the nonprofit sector, really trying to demystify the real numbers on how many nonprofits are there and what do they do, and we're all not doing the same thing. And the other step in that is really making sure that we are coming together in a cohesive way, like a puzzle, and that we're leveraging each other's resources. It's just a different way of doing business, but I think more nonprofits are going to do it for sure.
I think so.
The culture's shifting.
I mean, we're in the midst. I'm chair of the events committee for our largest fundraising event of the year, which is the Fashion Show Extravaganza. It's happening at the Greek Church in Manchester on October 2nd. It's a Friday luncheon. And we did this 2 years ago, and it attracted a lot of attention and buzz. So we're doing it again this
What do you
year.
mean fashion show?
Fashion show. Okay, so
So
this is so cool. So families in transition, okay? You can model in it, Gary. We'd love to have
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Or you can donate some of your fashions.
fashion?
Because so this is the
My
scoop.
fashion.
Families in transition, one of their main income sources, okay, is their 2 stores, one in Concord, one in Manchester, Family Outfitters. Awesome store where you could go in and get fashions, home decor, and everything. And so we encourage our community to go and donate your things. We want to make it
Yeah.
just the first thought. When you have stuff that you're getting rid of that, somebody else would appreciate, that you drop it off at Family Outfitters. We need your stuff because we sell it. And then all of the proceeds go to help all of the programs that we're running. So with that, we ran a gigantic clothing drive over the past few
Huge.
weeks. We have been inundated with fashions, including top designers like Vera Wang, dresses, and our models are going
What's
to
a Vera
be
Wang?
a really
A
high-end
lot of my
designer.
dresses aren't that good.
Let me
so-
put it this way:
Yeah.
there probably
when I'm
aren't that
shopping
many.
for dresses, I go to Walmart.
There
so.
probably aren't that many Vera Wang dresses in New Hampshire.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
in New York, yes. But so we've got some really high-end fashions that have been donated, And our models are going to be working the runway in some great fashions, all donated by people in our community. Those same clothes will be on the rack at the Outfitters store the next day at quite the price. So we last time had quite a little mob scene going in trying to get all the fashions from the fashion show.
That's pretty awesome.
But you know, we have a financial goal for the event, and we're getting there because of community support, and other nonprofits even are coming in and helping us. And these are the kind of events that create this unity that we're talking about. That's so
Without a doubt.
important to solve it's our community. There are problems, and we need to solve them. And you know, I think this event is really bringing a lot of people together. And we're seeing some great stuff happening. with it.
I feel like we're very blessed at Families in Transition to have the support of the community like we had, because without the community support, we wouldn't be where we are today. You know, working with folks who are homeless, it's about isolation and loneliness. And by helping them to break through that, they're able to achieve self-sufficiency. The same with the organization. If we were inward and, you know, didn't rely on our community, we wouldn't be around today. So we're very fortunate to have the board that we have, the staff that we have, and folks like Chris that are like willing, honestly, to come out and do the next right thing for their neighbor. So we're very lucky.
Well, I have
When is that?
October 2nd. It's a Friday luncheon, 12 to 3. If anybody's interested in tickets, we have them at Chris Cosmetics over at
It's not Chrissy Cosmetics.
Chrissy Cosmetics at 145 South Main Street. Or you can give our studio a call and we can arrange to get the tickets to you or hold them at the door or whatever. We have some tickets left that were donated back from companies that bought the tables, so
Right.
Very generously. And yeah, so it's going to be quite an event. We have music and raffles and giveaways.
What kind of
and
food?
lunch.
What's food? The food's the only thing.
Yeah, our caterer is Big Kahuna, and she does an amazing job on hors d'oeuvres and luncheon. So it's going to be quite a spread. We'd love for you to be there.
I might.
Yeah,
I gotta
come
just check
enjoy.
my collar.
Mayor Gatsis will be modeling.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
too funny.
Well, he
Oh,
lost all
yeah.
that weight. He's looking pretty svelte.
Oh
so-
yeah, yeah,
He's absolutely wonderful to Families in Transition. He's
Yeah.
been a great supporter.
yeah, absolutely.
And Dick Anagnos, I think, may even have on a tuxedo.
Yeah, we're gonna put Dick Anagnos in a tuxedo rather than a dress.
Yeah.
I think last event we
Yeah.
put him in a dress, and he was willing.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
that's
good.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Our top sponsor is Binney Media.
Right.
Yeah, Bill Binney, New Hampshire One, and all the radio stations. They've been a huge supporter of our event too. We're grateful for that, and I mean countless other businesses and corporations in our community. It's really exciting.
Now, how much? So you get a huge flood of stuff this time of year from that.
Yep.
Do you do what other events do you do during the year? Is this the big one?
Well, we have a Wicked Fit run in
Wicked Fit run.
Wicked Fit run in Concord, and last year we had over 500 walkers, runners. So that's our Concord event because we are in Concord.
Right. Right.
So those are the two big events that we have.
Who has that homeless shelter? I don't know if they still have it. They had a homeless shelter over. It was over near the train tracks. I forget exactly how you get there.
In Concord?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's like
the Friendly
off the-
Kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like a soup kitchen.
right.
There's no shelter there.
Oh,
They
okay.
strictly provide meals.
Okay. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I know they were having trouble with finding places for people last winter in Concord, and some place said they were shutting down.
They shut down the cold weather shelter. It was churches that would have people come in and they would rotate amongst the churches.
right.
But I think that it's a totally volunteer run, and it's exhausting.
Right.
So
right.
they're trying to find a more permanent solution to, rather than people going from place to place, they're trying to find a solution. One of those things is we got a grant to provide a housing first to folks who are chronically homeless.
Right.
And that's where you take them directly off the streets, you put them in a unit, and you wrap them in services. We have many units like that where we work with folks in that way.
Can I share a story with you?
Sure.
And get your opinion on this?
Uh-oh.
All right. So I was leaving my studio. This was just about 3 weeks ago. This stuff always happens to me. I'm driving down the road, and there's a guy that looks like he could be unconscious on the side of the road with another guy with him, and they have plastic bags and clothes and sodas and drinks or whatever. And I pull over and I'm said, "Do you need 911 services?" He said, "Oh no, I think he's coming to now." And they were both very, very drunk, right? And I thought I got a good spirit to me, so I just kind of kept my doors locked, had my window down, and I thought, I need to talk to them. I want to get into the heart of this homeless thing. I said, are you homeless? You live on the streets? Yep. I said, how long have you been homeless? And he says, well, it's been about 2 years. And then the guy comes up and he goes, that's my buddy, and he takes good care of me. And he's like, do you have $1? And I said, I'm just curious. What are you going to spend that dollar on? What's that for? And he says, food, I'm really hungry. I go, I have a fresh grinder right here. I just picked it up. And I said, here you go. And he looks, he goes, no, I don't think so. And I said, well, you must not really be that hungry. What are you really going to spend it on? Alcohol, drugs? And for whatever reason, the more I talked to him, the more he got to tell me that he was a heroin addict, an alcoholic. And I said, are you interested in maybe some recovery and maybe changing your life? And he said, I've gotten too comfortable this way.
Wow.
I know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And it was like, he goes, I know how to get what I need. I know how to get a coat. I know how to get food when I need it. I know how to get my drugs when I need it. I know. And he was comfortable and satisfied. Where's the bridge to a new life for somebody that's homeless?
Right.
Do you ransack them and say, no, really? You're talking crazy.
No.
You really need a new life? Or is that really comfortable for some people? And what are the stats of people that go homeless and really don't want it? And people that are comfortable? And what are the numbers in our city even?
I don't know what the numbers in the city are, but there is a segment of the homeless population that would prefer to remain outside. And, when you say they prefer to, it's like, when you look at the issues that they're struggling with, it's addiction, it's mental health, and it's like, well, how much are they really deciding, or how much is their situation deciding for them? And so there is a group that does stay out, and it's like if you live a certain life for a certain period of time, it just becomes all you know.
Yeah.
And that is all these guys know, or women. There are women who do the same thing.
Yeah.
So there are groups that do try to reach out and try to do that conversation. It's conversation after conversation after conversation. And I think that there does need to be more people that are willing to go out and start talking to these folks and bringing them in. Some
really
people don't
enjoyed
make
it.
the decision.
It felt like Willy Wonka. It felt like I was going,
You
I
had
have the
chocolate? You offered him
golden. I have the
chocolate?
golden ticket. Would you like it?
Right.
Because it's interesting. It's like they're there, and I was just sitting where I was sitting, and I thought, there's not really that big of a jump from where you are to here. Maybe a little pain, maybe a little reality check, maybe a little bit of love, and your life could be different.
Right.
And it was a beautiful conversation, and I feel like I met a friend. If I saw him again, maybe I could talk to him again. And
There are
maybe
path workers through the mental health system that work with folks who are out on the streets.
The
Child and Family Services has
The line of
outreach.
delineation, though, is if that homeless person had children, that's when you have to step in. I mean, if an adult
Yeah.
decides to live on the street, it's like, well, whatever. You kind of you can't really force them to.
My stepdaughter, Amber, that died of the heroin overdose, chose to be homeless for the last year of her life.
Right.
And I say that because we had a beautiful home with a bedroom for her and an opportunity for her to get educated in food and clothes. She could have had anything she wanted. Life on a silver platter.
The life of Riley.
Opportunities to thrive. And on the third night of her being in our house after getting out of detox, we woke up to a letter on her bed that said, I'm so sorry. Thank you for everything you're doing to help me, but I'm going back to my people. I'm going back to the streets.
Wow.
And, when I talked to that guy on the street, I thought this was our Amber. She was more comfortable. She had become more comfortable with life
Well,
on
I
the
think
street.
that addiction takes away your choices, and
Yeah.
and it takes away your reality, and it's slow. Although with heroin it happens very quickly, but it takes away. Next thing you know, it's like, this is my life, and this is what I know, and this is what I'm used to, and I can't imagine doing anything different.
You almost, when you choose to pick up heroin, you almost forfeit your gift of life.
Without a doubt.
No, you do. You say, I'm going to take my gift of life and I'm going to forfeit it to what will be.
Right.
And
Yeah. Then that basic. I've said it on the show, and I know it's probably politically incorrect, but to me, heroin addiction is demonic.
Oh yeah.
It is like, it's pretty much like a ravenous wolf that once you allow it to come
overtakes.
into your head or into your life, it just owns you.
You know, one of the things that we need to look at too is like, how did this happen again? We had a heroin epidemic when the folks were coming back from Vietnam, and we did something about it, and now it's back. We need to trace it back to its roots. The roots are that prescription medications have been overprescribed.
Yeah.
They've been overprescribed because drug companies are paying big bucks to doctors to prescribe this. And now we're like, oh, you know what? We need a drug prescription program
Well, there's
where
no
there's a
discipline.
central
There's
registry.
no monitoring.
But we created these super pain relieving drugs, oxycodone, and all these other things.
Chrissy knows what I went through last year with some of the physical stuff.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean, he had
every freaking time I went to the
surgeries
doctor,
that were crazy.
it was, hey, you want some of these? You want
Right.
some of that?
Yeah,
I
they're
broke a
they're
rib.
pushers.
Yeah, I broke a rib, and I could have
But
walked
I-
out with
but
a
I'm in-
Vicodin. I said, I don't need this.
Yeah, because I'm in recovery, I said, nah, I don't think so.
Smart.
I've
That was a nice
seen,
choice.
well, I'm not immune.
Pain is part of life. And I think people
That's why we
want
get
to
married,
escape
right?
their emotional pain, their physical pain.
Well, I've never been
But
married.
look at
You
the
know,
way
that's
why-
that
that's why
drug
he's never been
companies.
married.
But
I
look
like
at the
that.
way drug companies sell this stuff.
Right.
They're selling directly to the consumer now.
Yeah.
And they're getting doctors to do it, and now we're trying to take it back, and we're saying, you know, there has to be a central registry so that we can check and see who's getting drugs, and we're trying to train doctors not to prescribe it. It's like, you know, we need to push back and say, stop. We don't need these super drugs, honestly.
Right.
They're way too readily available. That's where the heroin epidemic came from.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. I think we've had at least, I think Jerry DeLimas alluded to it or said it. We had another guest a few months ago that said there's also a direct correlation from the fact that, you know, we went into Afghanistan and now that's about when a lot of this started too.
That's right.
'Cause
A lot of
he's-
poppy fields over there.
A lot of pop.
Yep.
He says his son, I think it was, is a Marine.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
was actually, his duty was to guard the water supply for a poppy field.
Well, that's their whole economy, right? In Afghanistan, it's
So,
what it's based
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Coincidence? No, I don't think so.
Well, what's interesting is at this hearing, what was said was that somewhere around 50 to 60% of the heroin is coming out of Mexico. Well, where's the other 50% coming from?
Well, even if it comes out of Mexico, it doesn't mean it didn't come from Afghanistan.
True.
That's right.
Good point. Yeah.
You know, that's,
Yeah, it's funneling in. And the other thing that was mentioned is the biggest financial cuts that have happened have been with mental health, addiction and recovery, and the other one, Border Patrol. Border Patrol.
biggest cuts.
So two big cuts that are affecting this problem.
So I'm just saying, I am pretty confident there's some people who are pretty darn high up the food chain that are getting pretty darn wealthy.
I think one of the things that we really need to focus on as a community is prevention, which means education. I was asked today to go and speak to an anonymous group of wealthy mothers in a local community that has a lot of money. Many mothers are going to be coming to this because there's been many deaths in this community.
Oh yeah, this isn't just
Okay.
striking the poor and the downtrodden.
They
This
want
is
me to
hitting
come
everybody.
share Amber's story and my story as a step parent of a heroin addict that passed,
Right.
and really educate them and teach them to the reality because they've been in their own little world, and it's getting their attention now because a young girl in the community, 18 years old, died 2 weeks ago. And it's starting to get their attention. And I think this awareness, and I think that's really what I'm called to do is just get people talking.
Yeah.
Get people talking about it.
I'm a parent of two 15-year-olds. I have twins. And I have to tell you, this is the kind of thing that keeps me awake at night. My kids are informed. They're, you know, I'm in this industry. Of course, they know all about this. And this is like the biggest thing that I worry about is that one decision that you can never ever take back because they're kids.
Is
Because
it peer pressure at that point, or is it curiosity?
it's all of it.
Well,
It's ignorance,
one of the
it's-
things that some of the seminars I went to today was, this weekend, was the idea that the adolescent brain, the young brain between 15 and 25, is so plastic.
It's not done until
it's not
25.
done. And so that it's at around 25, especially in men.
It's cooked at 50.
It's over the top at 53.
But especially at around 25, men finally start I think it's the frontal cortex, finally starts kicking in and starts adding reason to some of these decisions. But the brain is so elastic
Without a doubt.
at 15 that they're making decisions regardless of consequences, because those don't enter into the decision, and their brain is so easily addicted at that age. It can create those receptors so quickly and become addicted very, very fast.
What if every child, above and beyond parents, because parents have a hard time affecting their children, I think.
Yeah.
Kids are going to do what kids are going to do. And I raised 3 boys. I have an 18, 19, and 25-year-old. They get stubborn. They get to the point where I know. And I said, okay, you think you know. What if every child up into a certain age had a positive life coach, mentor in their life, above and beyond parents? That an accountability person, somebody to guide them above and beyond parents, so that they could talk to them about issues with their parents.
Right.
Because you can be the best parent in the world and your kid will complain about you.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Oh,
the
yeah.
best parent in the world. And my kids complain about me. They do.
Really?
Yes. I'm the coolest mother ever.
Right, I would think
But
so.
my kids complain about me.
No.
Yeah.
Mine do too.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
You know, and I think that peer type of, counseling type of thing is really important. And I think that's part of the, just the prevention and the education and the support.
It's all about prevention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in today's culture we just get so many negative influences. I mean, just on TV alone, there's so much. It's not like, if you go back to the '60s, you had most kids grow up in intact homes. The wild, I mean, even on Dick Van Dyke, they weren't even allowed to. The husband and wife weren't allowed to sleep in the same bed together.
Yeah.
They had separate beds, and they.
I Love Lucy and all that thing. Yeah.
I mean, today it's just anything goes. There's no stability. One of the things that I think we just talked about is that that instigates addiction is trauma. And if you look at today's life, it's so hectic and so traumatic
Right.
in and of itself.
And through generations that trauma goes through.
We
and
don't
the
talk
old
about-
saying is like, hurt people hurt people.
We don't talk about it enough. We do not talk about violence enough. We don't talk about trauma enough. It's that family's issue, and let them deal with it
And then it precipitates shame.
without a doubt.
It's like if you don't talk about it and it's not comfortable to talk about it and you hide it in, it rots you from the inside out. And that's
why
where the
people
damage is.
self-medicate.
That's right.
Actually, I think that's one of the cool things that's actually happening now. Is we're talking about, because the heroin epidemic is becoming so obvious, you're almost forced to talk about it. But just the fact that, remember, it was like a while ago, some woman's child died, and they said she passed away due to long-term battle with heroin addiction, as opposed to, years and years ago, if somebody died from alcoholism, they'd say, passed away after a
illness.
long
Right.
That's right.
medical issue.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. We
And,
talk about the truth instead of.
Mark and I, it's right after Amber died. It was probably within 2 weeks after she died. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know how I was going to support my husband. It was his only child. How do I do this? And I
Right.
have 3 children, and his one child has passed away. And I didn't know how I was going to do that. Or okay, I can take 2 weeks off from work, but how do I go back to work and deal with people every day having this tremendous loss? And it's like, it's these issues too, and I went to sleep one night and an angel came to me in the middle of the night. I kid you not. And the word was, stay in the stream of life. So how do you do that? You got to get out, you got to get up, you got to dust off, and you got to talk about what you're going through. You have to say, my stepdaughter died of a heroin overdose. She was living on the street. She was incarcerated 4 times in the last 2 years of her life. This is what drugs does. This is what it is. And the stories are all the same. The more I tell Amber's story, the more I hear the same story over and over again, or different pieces of it. You know, she was untreated, undiagnosed mental health issues that turned into gateway drugs. Over-the-counter Benadryl was her first drug when she was 15.
Really?
That led to marijuana, alcohol, pills on the streets, the little blue Percocet, and then it led to heroin. Everything is a gateway. As soon as you leave reality, everything is a gateway. That's why I love the word clean and sober. You know, I've got issues with Suboxone clinics and all this. I'm like, okay, it's like a little Band-Aid for a while, but when do you come fully into the reality that you're created to live? You know, and I mean, that's just my opinion on it, but, you know.
Hey, we gotta go.
We do?
Yeah, we do. It's
Your
5.
hair looks really good tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
I like it. It's looking good.
I realized something today.
What?
I had, you know how you had an epiphany about something relevant?
Yeah.
I had similar things, but it was not that relevant.
Okay.
It was, I was thinking about the word offspring. And then I was thinking of my 3-year-old granddaughter. Why do they call them offspring? Then I realized it's because they bounce. Right?
It's all 3-year-olds.
Do they? See, I don't know. I don't have any kids.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't
They
know.
just bouncy, bouncy,
Well,
bouncy.
hopefully, you know, I know the kids at Families in Transition are jumping for joy.
All right,
Yeah.
so repeat your event again, so
Okay,
people, and
so-
how can they find out online?
Okay, so we actually have information. They could contact the FIT website, right?
Yep, it's fitnh.org.
Right?
Okay.
Or they can call 641-9441.
Yep. Or Chris Cosmetics, west side of Manchester.
Like Chrissy Cosmetics.
Chrissy Cosmetics, 145 South Main Street. I love saying this, across from the Canadian Club.
What's a Canadian club? Is that like a bar or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too cool.
Anyways, we have tickets there, and you can stop in or you can call us, and we'll arrange to get the tickets to you. We'll even deliver them to you because we'd love to have as much community support as we possibly can. The event is being held on Friday, October 2nd at the Greek Church on Hanover Street. It's a luncheon, 12 to 3, lunch and raffles and fun and music.
Beautiful
and
clothes.
fashions.
Yes.
And makeup and tips and all kinds of great stuff. It's going to be a great day off celebrating and helping us achieve what we're trying to achieve for homelessness in our city and in our state, really. Right?
Yes.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much, ladies.
Thank you
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Hey, I thought of something. One last thing. For those people who are my gun nut friends out there, instead of worrying about so much about, protecting your life with your gun, make sure you are living a life that's worth protecting.
Oh, wow.
Amen.